reading of Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective by me and Elizabeth Olsen and Robbie Arnett, illustrated by our amazing illustrator Marissa Valdez.
Woo!
Thanks for making the time for us.
Thank you. All right. The first day of school had finally arrived. Some kids were excited and a little worried. Luckily, Wildwood Elementary had Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective. Hattie had many tools up her sleeve, and she was ready to get to work.
Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective. How can I help solve your worries today?
Hattie, it's Pearl Peppercorn. I'm terribly worried about my first day of school. I have nervous butterflies flying all around my belly. What if no one plays with me at recess? What if I don't make any new friends?
Hattie put on her trusty Worry Detective tool belt.
Don't you worry.
She said,
Meet me at the flagpole in front of school. I'll be there just as soon as you can say, "Worry, worry, go away. There's no time for you today."
It sounded like a case of the first day jitters. As soon as she saw Pearl, Hattie pulled out two big nets. Hattie gave one net to Pearl and kept the other for herself. Pearl was confused.
The butterflies aren't outside.
Pearl said.
They're inside my belly.
But Hattie was already swinging her net. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The butterflies danced with the birds, boogied with the bees, slept in the grass, and even climbed up the trees. Pearl and Hattie were having so much fun catching and releasing the butterflies that suddenly Pearl realized,
Wait a
Pearl
minute.
said as she rubbed her belly,
I don't feel the butterflies anymore. Hooray!
That's right.
said Hattie.
If we focus on our movement and try to live in the moment, our worries can fly away.
With Hattie's help, Pearl was now ready to start her first day of school.
Thank you, Hattie Harmony.
Pearl said. The school bell rang. Ding, ding. Just as soon as Hattie sat down at her table, her friend Seymour Swiggletooth scooted right next to her.
Psst, Hattie, I don't know what I'll do if Mrs. Rivers calls on me.
Whispered Seymour.
What if I don't know the answer? What if I have to stand up in front of the whole entire class? Oh, Hattie, my legs feel like Jell-O.
Don't you worry.
Hattie said.
I'll find the right tool just as soon as you can say,
Worry, worry, go away. There's no time for you today. Hattie searched her trusty Worry Detective tool belt.
Aha!
She knew just what she needed to solve this case. In a flash, she pulled out one of her favorite tools, Squishy Ball.
What? This is an emergency.
Seymour squealed.
I don't have any time to play with a ball.
Oh, but this ball is special.
Said Hattie.
Go ahead, give it a squeeze.
Seymour squeezed, and he squeezed, and he squeezed.
It's working.
Seymour cheered.
I don't feel so tense. But how did you do it?
You did it.
Hattie said.
By tensing other muscles and squeezing Squishy Ball, you told your worried mind to relax and take a break.
Thank you, Hattie. Now I'm ready to raise my hand in class.
Said Seymour.
Can I keep it?
It's yours.
Hattie said. Recess was finally here. Hattie and Pearl played one of their favorite games, tag. Hattie chased Pearl through the playground, around the swings, and up the slide.
Come and get me.
Pearl shouted, but Hattie was worried. She'd never climbed to the top of a big slide before.
What if I slide too fast? Or what if I fall off? What if I don't like it?
Hattie asked.
Hattie, you're the bravest person I know. You can do anything.
Brave people don't always feel brave inside.
Hattie whispered.
I feel scared.
Hattie searched her tool belt. In a flash, she pulled out Miss Mirror. Hattie saw fear in her eyes. But then she smiled and said to herself,
I am scared, but I can do it. You got this. Worry, worry, go away. There's no time for you today. Whoosh! Hattie, you did it!
cheered.
You conquered your fear.
Even Hattie sometimes needed a reminder that having courage means facing our fears and pushing through them. The first day of school had come to an end. Duncan Del Mar panicked as all the buses arrived at the pickup zone. There were so many. A bus over here, a bus over there, a bus over here, a bus over there.
Help! I can't remember which is mine. My heart is racing. How will I ever get home?
Said Duncan.
Don't worry.
Said Hattie.
We'll find your bus just as soon as you can say,
Worry, worry, go away, there's no time for you
today.
Hattie searched through her trusty worry detective tool belt. She searched and searched, but then she realized.
We don't need anything from my tool belt. We already have everything we need. We do?
Asked Duncan.
You bet we do. One of our greatest tools is something we do all the time without even thinking about it. We breathe.
Hattie shut her eyes and slowly breathed in through her nose. 1, 2, 3. And slowly breathed out through her mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now you try.
Hattie said to Duncan. Duncan breathed in. 1, 2, 3. Duncan breathed out. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow, those breaths made my heart slow down. I can think more clearly now.
Said Duncan.
And look, there's my bus. When we take a moment to breathe in and breathe out, we can slow down all of the racing thoughts in our mind.
Hattie said.
The first day of school was a blast.
Earl exclaimed.
We learned so much.
Hattie said.
Sometimes our worries can seem bigger than they really are, but as long as we remember that our minds are very, very powerful, and now that we have the tools to practice, we can conquer anything. Oh, and one more thing.
Hattie smiled.
If you ever need me, you can always call your friend, Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective. The end. Like, when was the last time you guys were read to? Yeah. Thank you for being here again. So, Robbie.
Yes.
Why did you, do you want to first talk about when we started, I maybe just start with that.
Yeah. Let's
So we
start
started
with that.
trying to write children's books maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
Yeah, I
something
think we
like
started that children book journey about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and we wanted to attack children's books in a way because we wanted, there's something about that original form of storytelling that we hear for the first time as kids is incredibly informative, and it sparks an imagination and can really help kids with how to see the world. And so that's where we started, was hoping to create kids with hopefully to inspire curiosity,
Yes.
and empathy and compassion. And it wasn't until we started submitting other books that a publisher at Penguin, who published our book, asked us if we wanted to do a book that had to do with children and the mental wellness, because she was saying that there was a lot of opportunity there. And I wrote a book, and Robbie wrote a book, and we shared it with each other, and his was Hattie Harmony, and mine was bad. and that's how Hattie Harmony came to be. But Robbie, do you want to start with talking about where you started with how you thought of Hattie Harmony as a title, or what was the impetus for your idea of creating Hattie?
Well, yeah, so when we heard that the mental wellness
space needed some love, I started looking and seeing what was out there, and there wasn't really any character-driven books. And so I thought, well, it would be cool if we could all have a friend when we're talking about, emotional language. And so that's when Hattie Harmony came to my mind, and I was like, well, what does Hattie Harmony do? She could be a worry detective, and she could help identify worries, and through identifying and becoming aware of what's going on, it's a bit of a comfort, and we can kind of manage, some of the high anxiety that we face every day.
Is that something you related to when you were a kid?
Why, yes, Lizzie. It sure was. Yeah, as a kid, I grew up moving around every couple of years, so I had a lot of firsts. And, I often felt overwhelmed, and I really didn't know where that feeling was coming from. I thought, like, maybe I just have a stomach ache because I ate some bad pizza or something like that. I didn't realize that maybe this was anxiety. And so, with creating Hattie and kind of having that language, it might have been helpful as a kid to be like, oh, wait a second, maybe it wasn't the pizza. Maybe I'm actually nervous about the first day of school, or talking in front of the class, or making some new friends. And so yeah, that's why I thought Hattie would be, a cool friend to have.
And the way that we wrote together, Robbie really created Hattie Harmony as a series of anecdotal stories, like we read, kind of like there's a problem and a solution. And I was more or less kind of an editor,
yes,
who was also excavating what are we learning in this moment, even if you didn't realize that you're applying a tool.
Right.
We were discovering what the tools were, and so that's why we have them at the back of the book. There's 4 different tools that we use that also we can explain to caretakers, grandparents, parents, if they wanted to use it for themselves at home and with their kids. And that is mindful movement, mindful breathing, conquering our fears, which is really also, she uses positive self-talk in that.
Yeah.
And then the other tool of having a squishy ball, which is very helpful with tense. It really is a trigger for our brains. And we knew that these were things that we researched, but we also had a consultant look at the book. So, because we're not experts.
We're not experts.
Do you want to talk about how you met Marissa Valdez, our illustrator?
Yeah, so Marissa's amazing. So the way that it works... Yeah. So yes, you were a part of this. I mean... yes. So the way that it works or the way that it worked for us was, we write up the manuscript, and then we submit it to Penguin, and then we're really kind of aesthetically driven, and since we love picture books, and so we sent in a lot of ideas on how we wanted Hattie to look, and or the book to feel, and the pages to feel, and then with that information, the editor then kind of goes through her Rolodex of illustrators and is like, okay, well, based on what you guys said, these are some folks that I think you guys might like. And when we saw Marissa's illustrations, we were just like immediately drawn. She has like such great humor and playfulness. And when we were thinking of Hattie Harmony, we talked about, Lizzie and I had talked about animals, but then we were like, well, since it's such a, like this human experience, we were like, oh, why is it, maybe they're just like little kids. And we didn't tell Marissa any of this, and then she came back with Hattie as a cat, and we're like, this is it.
Yeah,
This rocks.
and it also felt like she was enjoying it more.
Yes.
It almost felt like within her own illustrations, she was having more fun with the animal
Yeah, it felt
aspect.
totally serendipitous.
And then Robbie had all these fun names of these characters that he picked out, and so we had Pearl Peppercorn. She made her a porcupine.
Yeah, it's like, that's right.
She made Seymour Swiggletooth a beaver because, the
Swiggletooth?
Swiggletooth.
Marissa.
Duncan Del Mar,
Yeah.
the dolphin.
Yeah, it really, there was this you don't even get to meet your illustrator. It's kind of
We're
an
so
odd.
used to collaborating.
Yeah, we like collaborate to a point of exhaustion.
No, but I mean, like with on set, I collaborate.
Yeah.
As a musician, you
Sure.
had to collaborate.
Yeah, we're constant. We're like, that's kind of the name of the way we operate. And so
But in
when
the
we're-
publishing world, they don't want you to collaborate
Yeah.
with your illustrator
We were, like,
because they're
literally,
worried that you guys are gonna like step on each other's ideas.
Yeah.
And we're just so obsessed with everything Marissa was doing. We're like, can we please meet her?
We're such fans.
Yeah, and we
So-
eventually have now got to.
Yeah, we're not worthy.
Yeah.
It's been.
But we've
it's
now
been
spent
really
time
nice.
with her, and it was amazing to even watch her do. We did a virtual event the other day, and she did a little showing of how she even drew the cat and
Yeah,
everything.
so
It was
sweet.
really amazing. And my favorite thing about her illustrations is I think they're a lot more. They continue to be fun. It's not just the first read. Her illustrations have a lot of detail.
Yeah, there's like a lot of hidden nuggets. Some of our favorite. We just learned something yesterday, which I can't believe we didn't
Yeah,
realize.
we did.
I don't know if I even want to give it away, but.
Well, it's Duncan Delmar's backpack.
You
It's
can
a
give it
pretty
away.
cute backpack. If you guys wanted to take another look at it. Robbie, what was it like writing together? Collaboration
Awful.
can be very tricky. That's what it says here.
Yeah. It was hard. No, it was so seamless. It was just like you were saying. I would kind of go off on these tangents of these like anecdotal stories and not really know where they were leading, and you were like, well, wait, I think there's something there, with the nets. I was like, it'd be fun if she felt these butterflies inside, and then she saw butterflies outside, and then she swished them around. But what does that mean? and you were like, well, that could be like mindful movement, and so it really couldn't have been done without Lizzie.
Yeah, or without you.
Yeah, it was just like, guys.
Robbie, what inspires your own creativity? Because we wrote this book also with this hope that if kids have an interest in their own emotional life, then maybe they can also have more interest in other people's emotional lives, which can create compassion and empathy. And if they see someone struggling in class, they maybe will have the emotional language that someone else doesn't have, and not judge them or anything, but maybe have some sort of compassion. And so to us, when we are compassionate, we're also curious, and we think that it's really special, it's really important in the world to try and create more curiosity for people who are different from us. And so that's something that is very important to us, and so we hope that this book also inspires a sort of a creativity.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was asking you, what inspires your
Well, you
creativity?
answered that so beautifully. It just with anxiety, it feels so personal. When you're going through, stress and worries that you feel like, oh, I'm the only person that has this, but it's such a universal thing, and I think there's comfort in that, and this idea that everybody expresses themselves differently, but we all are kind of feeling these emotions, and they're very similar emotions. And I think that if we can, again, have that empathy, then it will help provide this understanding and compassion for one another. And I think curiosity drives everything that I do. If there's something that I don't agree with, I want to know why they feel that way and why they're thinking about that. And that starts a conversation, and I learn something and they learn something. And so that is, I think that really drives whatever I'm doing creatively.
That's a nice way to answer that, Robbie.
Thank you. Thank
Should
you,
we
Lizzie.
go into audience questions?
Sure, yeah.
I don't.
Did I bring those?
I brought them.
Okay.
Sitting on them. Okay. Here we go. Thank you for submitting
Yeah,
your
thank
questions.
you for submitting your
We're not
questions.
going to be able to get to all of them, but we were also hoping that we'd be able to answer them while we were doing this discussion. So if you don't hear your question, it was because we were hoping we could get to it while talking. From Haley, how many Hattie books do you plan on writing? well.
Endless Hattie books.
Yeah. we would love to write more than the 2 that we are already planning on. We have Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective, and then we'll have another one coming out next year. But we also think emotional language is kind of bottomless. So we would hope to write Hattie in a series in the same way that we look at Arthur or Bernstein Bears. We would love to expand it forever and ever and ever. Will you be doing translated versions of the book? That is our hope. That's not really in our control.
Yeah, that's more.
That's
the
a very
publisher.
publishing thing, but it will come out in French.
Yeah, we know a French publisher.
And it'll come out in Turkey.
And yeah.
And where else?
I think they're working on stuff. It's like a behind the scenes type of thing.
Things that we're not in control
But we
of.
would love to talk to your local publisher and demand Hattie.
Spanish.
Yeah,
in
in
Spanish. Yeah,
Spanish,
we
hopefully.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we love that.
Especially just for the United States,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
important regardless of where you are. From Rael, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. What is your favorite part about writing this book together? Do you want to write more than children's books? Do you want to write anything more than children's books? What was your favorite part about writing the book together, and do you want to write more than just children's books?
Anytime I get to collaborate with Lizzie, it's a dream. That is. Yes.
Great question.
And we're done. What is the?
And then do you want to write more than just children's books? Yes, Robbie, I don't write. I'm a terrible writer. I love carving stories. I love giving
you're really
feedback,
helpful.
and I love breaking stories is like a term that people use when you feel a little stuck. And so I like being helpful from that perspective, but I'm not really a writer.
Yeah, I think
Robbie's a writer of all
I really
things.
fallen in love with picture books, and so I think I've got a couple more of those in me. I'll keep on cracking.
And then from Noemi, as an Adelano, as an actor and singer, how do you overcome any performance anxiety you may experience? I don't have too much performance anxiety on set. First days are really hard, and then big moments are hard. But I have to rely on prep work for that. But when it comes to anything live, like talk shows, morning shows, night shows, all those things are absolutely terrifying. And something that Robbie and I hope what also comes out of this book is that what we're trying to put out with Hattie aren't cures, but they're suggestions to help, but not necessarily fix. And so one of the things that I try and remember when I'm really anxious is to befriend the feeling that's inside me so that it doesn't overwhelm me, and kind of be, okay, well, I feel really weird in my chest right now, in my heart, my stomach, and my head, but I'm okay. I know I'm okay, nothing bad's gonna happen to me. And I also use mindful breathing a lot.
Walking. I do a lot of walking.
What about performance anxiety?
Yeah, performance anxiety. I think just the knowledge of knowing that it's okay and cool to fail. I've literally been singing songs and forgotten the words, and I've been oh no, I've messed it up. What am I gonna do? But I think in those moments, it's like a time to reflect and think about it's cool and
it's okay to make a mistake.
It's okay to make a mistake,
Yeah.
and it's such a universal thing that everybody goes through, and you don't have to judge yourself, and you don't have to be so critical, and you can learn from it if that means the next time you want to just rehearse a little bit more or breathe through it. But it's a moment of growth. It isn't really a moment of judgment, and so that is
Okay.
yes.
Do you have any tricks or tools that you can share that helps you cope with anxiety and panic attacks? And then we have a second question. Yes, for me, panic attacks. The biggest thing to me is this mindful movement idea. That's very helpful for me, but also the squishy ball. There's something that I learned as an adult about when you're having a panic attack or feeling overwhelmed, is this idea of tensing all your muscles in your body. that actually does send some. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps it calm down, and it helps your brain calm down, which is your like flight or fight response. And so if you tense everything, that actually is very helpful. So that is also something that I've had to use during a panic attack. What are the differences between producing a series and writing a song to writing a book and publishing it? Oh, I produced a series. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Writing a song to writing a book and publishing it.
I mean,
Yeah, why don't you talk about how does songwriting, how did that inform the way you wrote Hattie? Or how you came up with certain...
Yeah, I mean, typically when I'm writing a song, the first thing I like to do is to think of a title, and then once I have a title, things start to kind of flow, and the story kind of comes together, and that's kind of how Hattie happened. Came up with her name, and then it was like, we're a detective, okay, what's her journey? And then, you know, there's similar muscles that you're flexing with the songwriting and kind of picture book writing, story writing in terms of like the rhyming pattern and the lyrical mantra, you know, that's, you know, present in a lot of songs. So there is a lot of similarities between both forms of.
Did you want to also share maybe what were the most influential books for you as a kid? The things that you loved most?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but what I remember as a kid, first kind of series that my family was really excited about were the Berenstain Bear books, and that was kind of like a family thing. I loved Arthur, and then I also loved Shel Silverstein, and kind of
that was a big one at my house too.
more abstract and like goofy and quirky. I liked a lot of quirky books, like Where the Wild Things Are, and like.
You also really loved Goodnight Moon.
Yeah, and then like there's, you know, a lot of beautiful picture books, like, you know, Margaret Weiss Brown, Goodnight Moon, and all her series like really looked like. Yeah, I think I was just like really inspired by the art and how impactful and creative picture books can be. And so this journey of going down the picture book into picture book world is like really exciting.
I also think it's nice to think about because there is so much content for kids beyond picture books now. I feel like at a certain point you had like
Right.
Sunday cartoons
Right.
or the newspaper cartoons,
Yeah.
and then you had children's books, and
Yeah.
we had Barney, or you know,
Right.
well, there's so much more now. And so what I think something that we find really important that also helps us with creativity and broadening our minds is
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something that instead of creating children's content that is about this, that isn't in a form of a book, is different. But we really do want to encourage children to enjoy reading and enjoy art, because we do think that that's a way to look at the world from different perspectives and experiences in a deeper way than just
Or
watching
screen.
television and film. And
Yeah.
there's something that your brain gets to fill in a bit more with reading that we
And especially with the Hattie series, since there is, you know, more of a lesson, if you will, like it feels like it's something that like a family can do together, and so that was really important to us. Yeah.
So I'm going to go on to more questions. Let's see, no name. We
That's
talked
some
about
nice
that.
handwriting.
If you ever had writer's block, how do you cope with it?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I get writer's block a lot. I think again, it's important not to be so critical. And I mean, like, I'll like read these stories about these like prolific writers where they wake up and they like have a cup of coffee and they write all day and it's the best thing ever. And then I'll sit down in the morning and like scribble a picture of a cat and be like, check this out. And,
How do you cope with that?
yeah,
Robbie?
so, I have to, it takes hours sometimes to get into rhythm, and And then once you kind of have to push through it, and like, oh, there's no ideas coming, but it's like something that you really want to do, and so it doesn't just always come, stream of conscious, and so I'll just stick with it, and then once you find that flow, it's a really beautiful thing. But
you've also talked about that when you do feel stuck, it's often helpful to read something inspiring, or to take a walk.
Yeah,
or
the reading, taking a walk, or watching a film, or listening to music, and finding like there could be just like a moment of a song that you've heard 100 times, or a book that you've read a lot, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that sentence together, those words, that sound, like creates this domino effect, and you're able to kind of just like get into it. And so a lot of the times that's also really helpful, finding something that you admire, that inspires you, can kind of just turn a key and you're ready to go.
Yeah, my version of writer's block is I don't want to do this right now. That's our version of working together. It's
You're
like,
doing this.
I don't want to do this right now. Stop making me. I'm going to go on a walk, and then we go on a walk and talk about solutions, and it ends up being really fruitful.
Yeah, the walks are great.
Stop saying walk.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We're going for a walk.
How did Robbie decide on the type of writing style to use? How did you know what would grab the younger reader's attention?
Well,
or what was informing you? I mean, you read a lot of children's books, and you have favorite authors.
I do.
She does.
Creating children's books was really important to me. I didn't want to just be like, oh, we're going to just do a children's book now because we can or whatever. It was, I really wanted to study like what the art form was like, who's doing it right now, and who's really doing something that inspires me. And I think that, again, like that speaks to like anything that I'm doing, whether I'm writing like a script or writing a song. Like I really have to study it and do research, because just to just do it is it doesn't do the art form justice. And so what was the question?
Did you follow your own instinct with what you how did you know what would grab the younger reader's attention?
I mean, I hope that it grabs the younger reader's attention. I kind of just wrote from the heart, and kind of more towards what we were writing towards a specific subject. And
I think also we did a lot of reading out loud to see if things sounded fun to read
Yeah,
out
with,
loud,
like, a
because
big
we assumed
flow.
that's how that's how this book would be read.
Yeah, I mean, how did it sound? Did it sound all right? All right, cool. All right, we're doing all right.
What is something you experienced as a child that Hattie Harmony would have helped you overcome? I had a lot of fear of speaking up in class, oddly, even though I'm the same classmates for 13 years. I still had some weird fear of failure, or not being like out of perfectionism as a child that wasn't great because I think making mistakes is the best way to learn. And so I think that would have been nice for Hattie if I knew that everyone sometimes is scared to read out loud in class or to raise their hands.
Yeah.
Robbie, did you have one?
Did I have?
What is something you experienced as a child that Hattie Harmony would have helped you overcome?
I mean, yeah, like I had a lot of first days of school, which was really difficult, and making friends was always really, really tough. And so I think it would have been nice to have somebody like Hattie to kind of work through that. And
Well, Hattie would have been a constant in your life.
Yeah, it would have
So
been
you
nice
did
to-
move every 2 to 3 years to different states.
Yeah, and so it would have been nice to just at least have that kind of some kind of consistency.
And this is from Jasmine Flores. As a child development major, which was one of my favorite
Yeah, you
subjects in
rock.
college, I am curious if you consulted with any professionals during the journey of writing this book. And we did. We after everything was finished, or we thought was finished, we had 2 or 3.
There was 2.
2. One was a family and child psychologist, and the other one was a school, what's the term? A school
Counselor.
counselor.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what it is. and so they both had suggestions, and one of the things that was that we added to the book that wasn't there initially, not because of the consultants, but because of our publisher. Actually, she suggested, can Hattie go through something that's also difficult, so she doesn't seem like she is impenetrable. And so that was when the consultants with that part, they thought it'd be really helpful for her to have some positive self-talk when she's looking at Miss Muir. And so that was helpful, and also to try not to use as much definitive language as possible so that kids know that it is a process.
Yes. I think I just put that one in there because I like
America's Strong.
Like, that's cool.
This is from Destiny.
Good job, America.
Do you plan on making other books with different subjects? And then the other question is, have you accomplished your biggest goal
Oh,
yet?
yes, that is a big question.
Whoa, whoa,
Destiny.
We do plan on making other books for Hattie with different subjects. Would be more Robbie's.
Yeah, definitely.
Robbie's
Definitely
path,
plan
not
on
so
that.
much mine, not so capable path.
You'll be there though.
Will I?
Well,
I'll
you
be
know.
there editing or whatever,
Yeah,
giving you
yeah.
ideas. But I think that would be fully
Yes,
yours,
yes,
though.
yes.
You have already written some books
Yeah.
that we really love.
Yeah.
That we hope will come to a bookstore near you in a few years. Have you accomplished your biggest goal yet, Robbie?
Oh.
Your
goodness.
biggest goal ever?
I think that we're all works in progress, right? Like, I
Always.
don't know. I think that I've accomplished a lot of goals, but.
And it's important to remember what goals we accomplish.
Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes you have the biggest goals I've ever heard of,
Right.
and I have to be like, but look how far you've already gotten.
Right, yeah. You have to remember it's a long journey.
It is a long journey. What was the thought process like? This is from Tanya. What was the thought process like when coming up with different characters and their names? Robbie loves alliteration.
I love alliteration, and and I just thought that it was, I was like, challenge myself to come up with the cutest names possible. And I thought I did okay.
You did a good job.
I did all
I
right.
think so. They're cute. Will there be any more Hattie merch? I would love to see a Hattie plushie.
Yeah.
Alexis, what's a plushie?
Stuffed animal.
Oh, yeah. We would definitely love stuffed animals and
stuffed
toys.
animals.
These tote bags.
I mean, these
are a
tote
great
bags
start.
are incredible. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
And the shirts,
my
the iron-ons that you
goodness.
guys have made, it's really impressive. We are loving Hattie merch,
Yeah.
and we have been taking Hattie along with us to lots of different places.
Yes.
Robbie, why do you think it's important? We shockingly forgot Hattie today. We really appreciate all of your Hatties.
Yeah, thank you for bringing Hattie.
Robbie realized in the car, he's like, wow, I must be really tired. I can't believe I forgot Hattie. And he truly brings her everywhere
I
in
know.
a pink folder. So the fact that she's not
It's
here
like
with
forgetting
us.
my phone.
It's
I'm like,
really
what
weird.
is going on?
Why do you think it's important to have new experiences?
I think new experiences.
Because we keep bringing Hattie to have these new experiences wherever we go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's scary to have new experiences. But why do you think it's important and helpful?
I think any new experience is a learning experience because you're expanding you're learning something new, you're expanding something new, you're walking down a different street that you don't typically walk down, you get to see new things, and I think every time you it's like the old saying or whatever, every time you kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you really get to discover that A, you're not that different, and B, that it is, there's just an empathy that you can feel, and I think that, and it's,
I think especially for kids who have just been going through, we all have, but especially kids who are in school age, they have just had to be at home for 2 years. And I think it's really scary for us as just all of us here today to even show up and sit next to people and be like, am I gonna get sick?
Yeah.
There's a lot of anxiety right now of doing new experiences and being in community environments, and communal environments are so important for everyone. And And so hopefully we're showing Hattie really like doing these brave things, especially after it being a little scary to be out in the world.
Vulnerability is courageous.
Yes, it is. To be vulnerable is empowering.
Yes.
So that's that question. Ella, will we get any more Hattie books? When? Next one next year.
When?
Next year. We don't know when, but we think it's summer. This is from Riley. Music always helps me when I am anxious. It's her favorite tool in her toolkit. Do either of you have a song that you like to jam out to? I wish I knew how to. That's what I'm saying. Lizzie said, I wish I knew how to jam.
Well, you can jam. You can like jam like this and jam dancing.
I can jam dance.
You know, jam.
That's the thing.
You can jam dance.
But do you either of you have a song that you like to jam out to when you're feeling worried or stressed?
Oh, there's plenty of songs. When we were writing Hattie there, we like kept going back to Paul and Linda McCartney. They wrote this album together in the 70s called Ram, which is like so fun and playful and quirky, and so that
They
was.
also made some animated content as well.
They made animated content. They made children. They lived in all over the world. They're just like the ultimate cool people. And Linda has this song called Seaside Woman, which is just so cool and fun and has a great animated video. So that was kind of my big song that I was.
Also, their sounds feel kind of worldly. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's in like one genre. It feels like they're including instruments from all over the place.
They just seem real curious.
Yeah.
They just like want to experiment, and I think that it just paid off big time with that record. I like that one.
So I have this question here, but we did answer about our illustrator and how we found her,
Oh,
Marissa
yeah.
Valdez, who I just wish we could keep her with us for at every single event because
she's
she
the
is
best.
the greatest and so smart. So I'm going to read our last question from Sabrina, who's age 7. Right? Or maybe her name's Sabrina 7. How do you want people to feel when reading the book? That's a good way to end the conversation.
Yeah.
How do you want people to feel when reading the book? I want kids to feel a few things. I think I want them to maybe feel inquisitive, like, oh, what are these things that these people, what are these solutions? But I also want them to feel like they just had fun.
Yeah.
I think it should be fun and not like a lesson.
I think fun and goofy is a huge thing. Yeah, reading with like silly voices, but then also, hopeful that, that it's like, we all have these anxieties.
Yeah, Pearl Peppercorn feels butterflies in her belly, and so do
Yeah.
I. That's not like, I feel seen.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll feel
Yeah.
seen.
I don't know if anyone's seen Red Panda, but I watched it yesterday, and that was
Yeah.
like the greatest movie I've ever seen.
Cheers.
and yeah, that movie really, I think, encourages people to be okay with the scariest versions of themselves that feel overwhelming. And I think that at an almost earlier, younger audience for Hattie Harmony, but I hope that is also how kids feel when reading Hattie Harmony, is that they feel like that they are allowed to be the scary red panda that's inside them. But I think that's it for our hang time with you guys. Thank you so much for traveling over here and being here. We really appreciate it, and shout out to my friends Josh, Courtney, and Jade. This was really, really special.
Yeah, thanks,
Stand
Barnes and
We hope you
Noble.
guys enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoy the book.
Yeah.
Thank
We love you guys.
Elizabeth, Robbie, can I please take a picture? Can I take?
So we're gonna. Yeah, sorry, you guys want to take pictures while we're walking.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll move her. Tiki, come. Tiki.
Thank you for all of our generous, creative gifts. We really
Sorry.
appreciate it.
Tiki, come here.
Spanish though, Spanish.
I know. Well,